Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Police arrest another suspect in connection with Thursday's deadly bank robbery in Offa, Kwara State, just as Inspector General of Police deploys mobile force units to Kwara and Taraba states to beef up security. One person dies from a suspected explosion at a non-residential building in Ile-Ife, Osun State. President Muhammadu Buhari leaves for the United Kingdom on Monday, where he is billed to meet with British Prime Minister Theresa May ahead of the Commonwealth Heads of Governments meeting. And US President Donald Trump blames Russian and Syrian presidents for the chemical attack on civilians, which killed dozens of Syrians. ChannelsTV.com has more information for you, and on youtube.com/channelsweb you can watch our videos. You can also watch us on your mobile device via your browser or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows devices from their respective stores. Besides giving you access to news updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 apps have an eyewitness feature that you can use to share pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu, and please follow the instructions. Well, let's take you now to some of the pictures that you sent in, beginning with this one from Idato South local government area of Imo State, showing the terrible state of the road there. Our eyewitness reporter laments the impact of this on them and is pleading with the federal and state government to attend to it, and speedily too. Still on infrastructure is this set of images from Akure, the Ondo State capital, showing these houses, which our eyewitness reporter says are some of the buildings in the state's housing project. He alleges that the project has been abandoned and the houses become the hideout of hoodlums. He wants the state government to complete the project and allocate them. And finally is this image from Iduekpeya, Hoda West local government area of River State, South Nigeria, showing the poor state of what our eyewitness reporter calls the Ugbobi Community Secondary School. He is sending a Save Our Soul message to the state government to ensure the students have a better learning environment by the time they resume school later in the month. We thank you for sending in these pictures, and note that you too can report events as they happen around you. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says that over 7 million permanent voter cards, PVCs, have been collected nationwide by their owners. In Ekiti, where one of the elections is expected this year, the need for the electorates to pick up their PVCs, which will grant them the eligibility status ahead of the state's governorship election, seems more pressing. Well, this report examines the readiness of the electoral umpire, the political parties and the electorate.
If Governor Fayemi could say on the pages of the newspaper and interviews that there was an unfinished business about the 2014 general election 3 years ago.
Do you need a rocket scientist to tell you that I'm running?
The Ekiti governorship race has always been hotly contested. In 2014, Governor Ayodele Fayose weathered a storm, beating the incumbent Governor Kade Fayemi to secure the state's top job. 4 years down the line, the governor's tenure is expiring. He has served 2 terms at intervals and no longer qualified by law to vie for that position again. So come July 14, the people of Ekiti State will be shopping for a replacement, electing from a pool of candidates offered by Nigeria's many political parties. The crucial election is coming in few months, and the campaigns are to open in few days. The electioneering drive may not be in full gear just yet, but how ready are the electoral umpire, the electorate, and the parties? In times like this, The big actors mean business and always come to the party. INEC says, outside the APC and the PDP, only about 10 political parties averagely fulfilled the laid down administrative conditions during their mandated on-ground verification. But by no means is that holding the commission back. They say they are good to go.
Last year,
more than 700,000 PVCs were discharged to Ekiti in year 2015. Out of that number, only 513 and 858,000 have been collected to date in the continuous voter registration exercise. About 218,892 PVCs are still in INEC's custody. Since the renewed continuous registration exercise, over 5,000 people have so far been registered. Politics is a game of numbers, but are the numbers coming from Ekiti State good enough to execute the group decision-making process of hiring the credible candidate to run the affairs of the state for the next 4 years? As the tempo of political activities increases and the coming days expected to usher in a more intensified game plan with the usual carnival-like campaigns by politicians, there is one big question on the table. Is a tool for recruitment, the PVC, in the hands of willing and eligible electorate?
Well, joining us for more on that is Channels Television's data analyst, Babajide Ogunsowo. Thank you for joining us on the news at 10.
Good evening, Melissa.
Now, INEC has announced the notice of elections for Ekiti State, and in less than about 100 days, voters in Ekiti will elect another governor. What now must INEC focus on to ensure success at the polls?
There are several things INEC needs to focus on. Safety cannot be taken for granted. But for me, I think what they should focus on right now are 5 things. Every thumb print must count. Accuracy. So candidates' votes shouldn't be overcounted, neither should it be undercounted. Now let me share a short story with you. There seems to be a deadly virus that is killing people in Ekiti. A virus that has killed, within just 2 decades, approximately 500,000 people. What am I talking about? During the 1999 elections, there were over 700,000 people that voted in Ekiti. In 2015, less than 400,000. So, Millicent, what has happened to the people in Ekiti? Is there a Armageddon? What is really killing the people? And so in the days ahead, I'll explain to you what happened that we had over 700,000 votes in 1999. And currently, we're struggling to get above 350,000 votes. And today, you know, we definitely can't talk about the elections in Ekiti without talking about what people are also interested in. What will happen next year, 2019, the national election. And there are 3 things we need to focus on. The first is, currently, there are 57.5 million people with permanent voter cards. The second is 66% of all those PVCs are in the 21 states that President Buhari, that the APC won during the presidential election. 66%. Only 34% of permanent voter cards are in those 15 states that the opposition won. And so what really is going to happen next year is people will be asking, will the supporters of APC still be as brave as Apostle Paul, or will they be as deceptive as Judas? And so 2018, in the next 100 days, Ekiti is on focus. But next year as well, people want to know who will win the election. And Millicent, I can tell you, what will determine who will win will be the permanent voters card. And INEC must ensure that every thumb print must count.
INEC recently revealed that in Ekiti State has the least number of individuals who have picked up their PVCs. Is there any creative way that they can encourage people to go about their cards, you know, to assure them that the PVC is secure?
So we need to, first of all, really understand what is going on in Ekiti. First of all, we have 1.7 million people in the labor force, possibly eligible voters based on the Bureau of Statistics. But here's the challenge. Even though there are 1.7 million people in the labor force, the evidence shows we've got only 866,000 registered voters. In simple terms, for everybody that is in the labor force, for every 10 people in the labor force, only 5 register. It even gets worse. very few people vote. So in Ekiti State today, 80% of adults do not vote. So here's the question. What are people doing when they do not vote? Now, the INEC doesn't have the answer, but the National Communication Commission has the answer. They reveal to us that there are more people living in Ekiti State that are connected to the internet than registered voters. So today, we have more handsets, more people using mobile phones, browsing on social media. And so on election day, they stay at home using their phones. That is the evidence. People are really interested more in their phones and in browsing than in registering.
So we're going to say this is some voter apathy. What can INEC do?
Clearly, we can't shut down the internet on election day, because if that happens, clearly people will come out and vote angrily. But INEC can use that information to also focus a lot of awareness on mobile advertising. And so since we have evidence that a lot of people are on their phones, then all that awareness needs to really come through to people's phones, because really there's no such thing as not voting. If you choose not to vote, what you've really done is, first, you've chosen to remain silent for 4 years. Second is you've chosen, Millicent, not to complain for the next 4 years. And finally, if you choose not to vote, you've chosen to sacrifice your child's future on the altar of your selfish convenience.
Based on your earlier statistics, nationally, is the low collection of permanent voter cards peculiar to Ekiti State?
Now, the evidence doesn't show that. What the evidence shows is all the states in the Southwest have low collection of voters' cards. Let me make myself clear. Within the last 3 years, only 134,000 voter cards have been picked up in Ekiti State. That is extremely low. Only 2% of people are picking up their voters' card. In Lagos, it's just a little over 140,000 people that have picked up their permanent voters' card in 3 years. In simple terms, what this means is that on an average, only 150 people pick up voters' cards in Lagos. And this has been the trend in the Southwest. People are really not interested in voting. And what INEC needs to do is look at what people are interested in, their phones, and start pushing all that awareness to their phones. Again, let's remember, there is no such thing as not voting. If you choose to stay at home, you've chosen to vote, and you do not have the right to complain for the next 4 years.
So with all of this, it's loaded. I mean, 2019 is just around the corner. This is Ekiti State. How different will this election be from 2014? And then how prepared is INEC for the forthcoming general elections?
I think INEC is getting prepared. We remember 2014 was when we had those two favorite words, stomach, infrastructure. And so this time, it should be less about the candidates and more about the voters. Currently, what we have in Ekiti State is it's the minority that determine who becomes the governor. For instance, only 1 out of 10 adults voted for Governor Fayose. Today, he is governor. So what we need to do is focus less on the candidates, focus more on the people, and encourage the people to come out to register, to come out to pick their voters' card, and to come out to exercise that right. If not, they've earned the right. If they choose not to vote, they've gotten that right to keep quiet for 4 years. They've gotten that right not to complain for 4 years. And what they've done as well is they've sacrificed their child's future on the altar of personal convenience of just staying back at home. We mustn't encourage that anymore.
But realistically, finally, does INEC have enough time?
I think they do. It's 10 months to that election everybody's waiting for. 100 days to a state election. I think we've got sufficient time. What INEC now needs is sufficient funds. They've got sufficient time. They now need to ensure that they can justify the funds that they're asking from the National Assembly to be able to ensure that we have a free and fair election for Ekiti, for Osun State, and for February next year.
All right, thank you so much. Channels Television's data analyst, Babajide Ogunsomo.
And make sure you vote too.
All right, we'll get to that, especially getting a PVC. Well, when the news at 10 returns, protest over an alleged rape case in Gombe goes bloody as one person is reported killed. That's on our community report. Please join us again.